an Open Rose Garden, an Adrienette Hanahaki alternate universe sequel series fanfiction, Chapter 3. I'm sorry, dude. I'm really not good at this, Nino said as he patted Adrien's back slightly awkwardly. Adrien smiled up at him. No, you're good, Adrien said. I want to wallow. Nino smiled at him. Yeah, I get that. I think you should. I mean, you can. First breakups are hard and they're confusing, Nino said. Adrien sighed and buried his face in his hands again. It wasn't even a breakup, though, he said, aspirated. It was a pre-relationship end. I mean, who on earth does that? Gets broken up with before they start dating in the first place? Adrien cried. Nino sighed. Dude, it's alright. It happens. Things aren't real before they are real. It just spares you from having to explain it to your family and everyone else, Nino pointed out. Adrien cracked a grin. You are right, he admitted. Nino smiled and stepped to his feet. Yeah, and don't think of this as a bad thing. It's good, in a way. You didn't waste a bunch of time and money on anniversaries and dates on something that wouldn't have worked out. Besides, maybe in time things will work out instead. Adrien thought about what Nino was saying. It did make sense to take it as a blessing in disguise. Yeah, Adrien smiled. It doesn't have to be an awful non-breakup if I don't make it one, he said firmly, standing up with Nino. The brunette just laughed and winked. Attaboy. And yes, though Adrien was still upset about Kagami, it was easier to move past by accepting that perhaps it wouldn't have worked out anyways. Perhaps time and life worked out in funny ways, and this was just one of them. At their core, breakups and divorces aren't inherently evil things. They're sad, but in a way, good. Two people who aren't absolutely perfect for each other that split off to find someone who is. That's not inherently a bad thing. Sure, it could be worse, but Adrien tried his best to think of it as a positive thing. Though the next few days, Adrien felt like he was walking with a strange pep in his step. Something was new in him. Hope for maybe another person he was ready for. One he could easily choose over and over again. Or maybe it's because the looming choice of asking Kagami to be his girlfriend was officially gone. He really liked her. That he knew, but for some reason, he always felt a little conflicted about officially dating her. Holly had even commented on it, saying how she even met Marinette, so it was supposed to be pretty serious and monogamous. Kagami was great, that was no doubt. Adrien smiled at the fun times they had together, but now he could see those small moments where he just wasn't sure. He had just never been totally sure of Kagami, of dating her, for some reason. He didn't really know why. It just seemed strange, and a little wrong at times. When she kissed his cheek, his face would flame, and he'd panic if anyone saw them, as if that would get him in trouble or something. They just weren't totally right, and that's why they broke up, and he was okay with it. But at the same time, Adrien's anxieties were growing. What if Kagami and him did fit? What if he was overthinking it all? What if he had always felt it was her, but he had to self-sabotage and convince himself of weird feelings to get out of something new? The sudden pep in his step was gone, and subconsciously, Adrien looked to his side. His heart sank. He was really hoping to see Marinette. She always made him feel better. She always knew what to say and what to do. She was smart, and she knew how to organize his brain so he wouldn't feel like his thoughts were exploding so much. Adrien sighed petulantly. He really missed Marinette, more than he ever thought was humanly possible. I feel awful, he said, flopping face down on the couch. Nino's steps came closer. Why? He inquired. I feel like I ruined it. Me and Kagami. I think we could have worked. I think we should have. I think it was supposed to be a leap of faith, and I miserably fell into a hole. He ground into the cushion. Suddenly, Nino grabbed his shoulders and forced him upright, much to his surprise. Nino had the most determined face on. The expression was normally reserved and to stay on his girlfriend's face, but never had he once seen it on his friend's features. "No," Nino said firmly. "No, you're not doing this. I know where you and this thought and this train are headed, and we are not going to be chasing that ball of yarn," Nino said, shaking his shoulders aggressively. Adrien felt like his head was about to screw off. But he tried, but was cut off by a harsh, "Hush! Your father was a guy who made some pretty bad choices, right? And loads of mistakes. We can agree on that, can't we?" the brunette asked. Adrien swallowed and nodded. Yeah. "Yes, and one of which is not noticing how great his son is," Nino continued. Adrien sighed and looked away. "Maybe I am unlovable," he muttered. His father was a stoic man. He never spoke to more than Adrien himself and his fashion assistant. But he said enough for Adrien to know that from a young age, Gabriel Agreste's love came at a steep price and one that was hard to reach. You had to work for it. And once you achieved it, you had to work some more. "No, you are not," Nino said, his voice curt and no nonsense. "Your dad had no heart." "You do," Nino said. Adrien looked at his friend. His first real friend. Nino was the first one to really get to know him and not use him for fame or fortune or anything like that. He wasn't clouded with his notability. He just befriended Adrien and was kind to him. Adrien's mind went back to a day far in the past when he still saw Marinette regularly. When a parent doesn't love a child, it's because of something they did wrong, something they don't have inside them, something they don't understand. Your father was missing something, not you. Don't forget that. It's not on you if you tried loving him anyway. It's on him. It's not you. The words had honestly made him feel better, and helped now, too. "Okay," Adrien said in a shaky sigh. "Thank you," he said. Nino smiled and punched his shoulder. "What are friends for?" he joked. "Other than to knock you out of some huge funk? Besides, we've been friends since freshman year. If I thought you were going to be unlovable, I would have dipped so long ago," Nino teased him. Adrien rolled his eyes. "Oh, wow, thanks, man." "Anytime, really." "Yeah, you reminded me of something Marinette said," Adrien admitted. Nino raised his eyebrows. "Wow, so I didn't even know?" "Yeesh, thanks," he said sarcastically. Adrien laughed. "No, you helped. It's just, well, Marinette told me one day that because I still loved him, it meant he was in the wrong there," Adrien explained. Nino nodded slowly. Okay, so what I'm getting here is that the person who isn't here and we haven't seen for days helped more than me. That's all I'm getting from this," he said jokingly. Adrien rolled his eyes and threw one of those small little pillow things that Alia always brought over to lay on their couch to look pretty or something. "Dude," he cried. "What?" Nino responded. Adrien laughed and got up. "Let's get dinner." There was no need to say that sentence again because Nino had already leapt up and got ready to go out the door. "You know, you think of Marinette a lot. And at random times," Nino commented as they waited in line. Adrien hummed. "Yeah, I guess. Why, is that bad?" Adrien asked. Nino suspiciously shook his head, but he looked like he was thinking deeply. No, not at all." "Not at all,"